How's it going, everybody? It's Robert and Austin with Gas Money. And on this week's episode of the podcast, we will be doing a new Gas Money mention with Carter Holmes, who is the founder and owner of Flipsity, which is a social media app. I'll definitely let Carter go into more detail about it, but it's super new, great idea. And just to kind of give you guys some background, as you know already, me and Austin went to high school together. Carter actually went to high school with us, and we were friends in a way where we knew each other, didn't really talk too much, but once we all got to college, me and Austin were working on Gas Money, which is an app for hiring young adults, if you've listened to our podcast before. And then we actually saw on LinkedIn that Carter had his own app, a social media app, also geared towards young adults in the college age group. And we ended up setting up a meeting with him, kind of learn more about his company. And we have a lot of similarities. So it was super cool connecting with him. So Carter, welcome to the podcast. If you want, go ahead and give a short bio about yourself and tell us about Flipsity.
Yeah, happy to be here. I appreciate it a lot. So basically, Flipsity started out as an idea for a challenge app. And then over time, I kind of figured out that wasn't exactly going to work, wasn't super unique. So I kind of had to adapt and grow as I coded more. So essentially now, and I'm sure it's going to change a little bit more in the future as the company grows and such, but it's basically an app to let people see what's going on in their area. So whether it's a photo, a caption, a link to something else you posted on your other socials, it's just complete freedom. You can post whatever you want, and the people in your area can see what's happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of my favorite things about that idea is it's kind of an in the moment thing. So like when you post on Instagram or Facebook, it's kind of something that's going to be out there forever. It's not really important to that moment. Whereas if you're a college or high school student, you're bored, you want something to do, you just go on Flipsity, see what's happening in your area, and you can connect with people as simple as that. So I think that's super good about your app, super unique. And it's definitely something that helps you stand out. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I remember our first conversation, you actually had a little bit experience with coding, but you actually taught yourself how to code as you built the app. So tell us a little more about that.
So that was just a crazy thing in itself. I don't think, if not, this is really weird saying this, but if not for COVID, I don't know if I'd have had the time to actually do it and learn it, or even pursue the idea. As you guys know, because you guys are on the App Store now and all that, and Google Play Store, which I'm still working on. But it's very, very hard to get on the App Store. You either have to develop it yourself, pay someone to do it, or hire a company like you guys did. And I didn't have a ton of options. I reached out to a ton of people and just couldn't get anywhere. A lot of companies during that time weren't accepting new clients, obviously, because of COVID. So here I am with this idea, nowhere to go with it. So I had a friend actually who he runs another company. They were making an app, and very good friends of mine. And he went to Kettering University, studied this his whole life. And he said it to me. He said, you should just try to code it yourself. And I kind of laughed at him initially. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to learn to code. But I mean, that was about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, he told me that. And then over all the government shutdowns we had, I had the time to actually pursue that. So I drove my family crazy. I drove my girlfriend crazy, everything. It was an experience, but I actually started learning JavaScript, React Native. I used whatever tools I could get and basically coded it within 1.5 to a year on my own. So that was a crazy experience.
Yeah, I hate to cut you off about that. So before you go on any further, was there kind of that inspiration, moment or moments that kind of made you say, hey man, I'm just going to go for this and I'm going to try to learn it myself and see what happens? What was that that made you just step your foot in the door?
Probably the one was my friend Scott. Like I mentioned, and I was going to go into more detail about it, and he's going to kill me for saying this, but he was yelling at me over the phone. He's like, are you going to do this on your own, or are you going to do nothing the rest of your life? He's like, this is your idea. This is exactly what you want to do. You talk about it all the time, and you're just going to let it go because you don't know how to do something. And he was saying stuff like, if he can do it, anyone can do it. And now I believe that 100%. I am not a smart guy in any way, I don't think. And, and that holds true because literally anybody can pick up a computer and learn to code on it. There's so many different things you can do. But that was my one moment, I think, and I remember it was storming. My internet was bad. I'm surprised it's not bad right now. We're doing good so far. But he was yelling at me, trying to download this, get that. And he was on my case about it. And he's like, I'm sick of you talking about it. Like, you got to get this going. And he's an entrepreneur as well, who I think he'd also be very good on the show. I'll introduce you guys eventually. And, he's the one that really like pushed me. And then after I got into it, I was just addicted to it, man. I could not stop coding for the life of me. It was weird. It was the strangest thing I've ever been addicted to, but it was different. It was definitely different.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, from that, I was just going to say something from that. Like, that's really great to hear that, a fellow entrepreneur like really was trying to push you, because when you get into it and you start to really think like an entrepreneur, then all of those other people because there's so many people out there that you can have a conversation with that have that idea, but or their great idea, but they're not going to do anything about it. And that's what really makes an entrepreneur feel like just sorry or bad, and they just really try to it comes down to almost forcing them to go for it, because the human knowledge, the human brain just really wants you to try to go for the easiest way possible, especially in life. And learning especially coding or learning how to do anything that you don't know how to do, that's not easy, so, and that's awesome that he kind of pushed you to do that and got you into it.
And one of my options was, and I know you guys went down a similar route of actually paying somebody. And I know I wish, still to this day, I kind of wish I had found somebody to just do it for me. Cause I spent so many nights, so many hours, so many days coding, and I just didn't have anybody really out there to do that. And you guys, I feel like you guys had and I know it was stressful, but you guys had such a less stressful experience because you had help and whatnot, which is great. And I wish that upon anybody else who goes down this. But even if you guys wanted to make another app or something like that, I want to help people now. I want to help anyone that was in my shoes, because I just at the time I didn't have anybody I could turn to. And I wish I would have known you guys were doing the same thing at the same time. I wish we would have got connected a little earlier. But it is quite the coincidence that we were working on a very similar thing at the same time.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things when we first saw. I remember we were looking on LinkedIn. It was right before we were about to launch our app. We saw, Carter Holmes from Davison High School. Oh, we know him, and he has his own app. So it's really crazy how that works out. But to kind of go back to what you were saying about having that almost like a mentor. It doesn't have to be a mentor, but somebody really giving you that extra push. That was actually the case for me in Austin. For a long time. The first major decision we had to make was actually becoming an LLC back when we did our manual process of hiring people. And even that decision in itself, I really had to get pushed a lot from Austin, because at the time I was super focused on school. And like you were saying too, you have this great idea, but there's so many doubts that run through your mind. It's is this even going to be worth it? I'm investing all my time, all my money. And I really had to get that first push from Austin. And then after that, we actually found another mentor. I think we mentioned to you when we talked the first time, his cousin who lives in Texas, RJ. And he was the one who really helped us with the idea for the app, because honestly, if we didn't talk to him, I don't think we would have had enough knowledge or enough confidence to go ahead and proceed with the app. And that's really a huge thing in business, is just connecting with as many people as you can. For anybody who is out there listening right now, if you need help, one of the things you could do, like Carter did, is go on YouTube, read some books, try and get self-education. And obviously that's worked out great for Carter. And the route we took is we've done research on our own, obviously, stuff like that. But one of the biggest lesson makers, or the biggest learning opportunities we've had so far, is actually talking to people who've done it already, which is kind of the case with you, Carter, with your friend. But when you have that mentor in your life that can kind of teach you through things, it's a lot easier than having the feeling like you're doing it alone. So I guess that's kind of what I was trying to prove with this point. Yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out to people. And obviously with this connection now too, we can both keep helping each other in the future.
Yeah. And
Right.
for the longest time, I was reaching out to, I had met one person who was making an app, one person who had an app on the App Store. I was reaching out left and right to people. And of course, once again, it was right when COVID started getting the swing in Michigan and whatnot. And nobody would email me back, no one would call me back. I didn't know if it was because of me or if it was because of the pandemic. I had no idea. I felt like very lost for the longest time because I was looking for somebody to make this for me. Because once again, I just doubted that I could actually like do it. But it, like Rob, like you said, like finding the right person or the right people to surround yourself is 100% the key to getting anything done. Because it sounds all crazy when you get into it, and you guys know that, and you just kind of talked about that a little bit. It sounds crazy until someone who's done it explains it and talks you through it, and then you kind of realize you kind of have that moment where you're thinking like, oh, this ain't too bad. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah, there's more guidance with other people that have, seen it or done it or are doing it at that time. Because basically what I look at, and Rob can say the same metaphorically, entrepreneurship is basically regular life that everybody likes to go down the easy way, I guess you could say, or easier than entrepreneurship. It's a very beaten path. But entrepreneurship is, you got to go through the thick shit. You gotta go through with your machete, and those are your ideas, and you have to throw it left and right to really find and cut to the right path to get to that success, which a lot of people, they give up, they quit halfway through because it's too hard. But continuing to surround yourself, continuing to learn from people that aren't even really in your industry, or just somebody that that has dealt with business at some point, or even somebody that has family that has a big business or something. They know, and at one point those people knew way more than Rob and I about business at all. So even a super indirect person that just has a little bit of business knowledge, that could be that little match that lights the fire that you have, and all the entrepreneurs have. And that kind of goes into my next question. With entrepreneurship and business in general, before this, what were your thoughts? And like, did you know a whole lot about it? Did you talk to people about it? And then doing this, and now after, how do your thoughts change about all of that lifestyle?
Yeah. So I was actually pretty lucky. And I guess I'll plug them in the video, but I work at a place called 100K Ideas, and it's basically a nonprofit in Flint, Michigan, and they help people bring ideas to life, essentially. So people come to us, and I'm one of the project managers there, and they come to us with ideas, and we basically work them through it. So at the point of me starting, I had already been in like the entrepreneur world. I just hadn't actually done something on my own. And it was different talking to all those people. Because like before, I had always wanted to start my business, or start a business, but I had never had any clue how to do it. Didn't know what steps to take. I mean, I had some family business experience, but nothing really in depth like that. It was always smaller stuff. And working there really opened my eyes, because I saw so many different businesses coming to life. And I was actually very blessed, I think, to have that opportunity, because I was surrounded with people. For one, it's always a plus. Everyone has an NDA that's working there, so you can basically talk about anything and everything. But it was a major plus, because I was around people who were kind of like you guys, that you were willing to take risks, and you were willing to be gritty and go through all the hard stuff, and understood what it takes to actually like bring something to life. And I was surrounded by those people every day. I looked up to them. I got to talk to them, and I was just around it all the time. And then one day I just had the idea. I was like, why can't I do this? Like, if everyone else in Flint, Michigan is coming to us with ideas, like, why not me too? So I pursued it, and it was kind of funny because, love him to death, but my manager at the time, he was the one that reviewed our deliverables we'd give to the clients afterwards. So I put my idea through my own businesses or the business I worked for. I put my idea through their process, and he basically said, like, you're kind of crazy. And it's funny. He said, you need a Scott, which Scott is the guy I ended up getting in touch with that was also an entrepreneur. But he was kind of like, he totally dismissed the idea of me like coding and whatnot, which was totally understandable because I had no idea where to even start with coding or anything. But that, I remember that was the advice he gave me. It was, you know, you need to find someone who can code, you know, find a company, do something like that. And, you know, I remember it wasn't unsupportive, but it wasn't full on like, this is going to take off, this is going to go. So I had to fight through a lot of like self-doubt, along with just, you know, I don't think people were really doubting me. I just think they were looking out for me, if you will. Like they were making sure I wasn't getting into something that was gonna lose me a lot of money. But I was very lucky to be in that atmosphere, because like even that advice, and I don't talk about that in like a negative way at all, because that was the best guidance he could have given me at the time. I just happened to learn to code after that, and you know, and part of that was because of what he said. So if not for that, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing right now. And if not for 100K, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing now. So I was very blessed to be around that before I actually got into it. But I know you guys, you know, you had the idea and you guys slowly built over time and like kind of learned it, you know, as you win. Is that correct?
Yeah. Kind of with our manual process. Basically, we hired out, we do everything on, like we call it our manual paper process. So we started out just me and Austin working, doing lawn mowing, stuff like that around the neighborhoods. And then once we started getting a little bigger, we were like, all right, let's try hiring students our age, keep that idea of gas money, because high school, college students like working for gas money. And kind of from there, that's when we really got the experience of our actual industry. Which was basically we get the schedule. We have a business phone line. When a client calls, we put that job opening out to all of the contractors that work with us. And then essentially from there, we just connect contractor and client. And ever since we started doing that manual process way back when we first started the LLC, we always knew that there was a way that we could make it faster and automated. And the biggest thing was trying to spread that, trying to scale a company. That's what's huge with both of us, is we both have apps that could be scaled. I know with you, you have a social media app. If you wanted to, you could start having people download it in California. You could have people download it in Florida, all over the country, or even all over the world. And that would be awesome. Like it can just spread like that. But for us, I think the way we had it set up, where it's kind of that slow, gradual build up, is helping us a lot more now, because now where we're at with the app, we really want to focus local and then from there move out. So that way we have that base established. But that just kind of shows the variation with apps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And going back to kind of reversing a little bit to back where that you know, finish line feeling, I guess you could say, getting through those mental things and things like that just making yourself go and go and go and learn and you know, continue to grow in your knowledge with coding and everything. And then also building as you go and as you learn, you know, you get through all that. And then tell us a little bit about, and I know we already talked about this in a prior meeting, but tell the viewers a little bit about the story of when you had it done and it was ready. And that obviously felt amazing. Like explain that, but then explain the App Store and how they like to deny it, people's dreams at first.
Yeah. So like starting out, I was going on a trip to Vegas. That was like a big vacation in the year. I was going to Vegas, going to go hike around and all that. And big deal, saved up some money for it and everything like that. And it was like, that was my deadline for having everything finished, because like I was coding and I was like very picky of how things looked and all that and how it operated. And I was always changing stuff, but that was my deadline. So I think our flight went out Monday morning, and it's a weird time to go to Vegas, I know. But that Sunday night I was sitting there and I remember I was like, everything's good. And I remember hitting submit, and it was like, oof, like it's done. Like I'm good. Now they just have to approve it and all this stuff. And I'm like, in the morning, I'm gonna be, hopping on a flight. I don't have to think about this for a week. And everything seemed absolutely perfect. It felt like the weight of the world was on me. I remember I literally just got out of my chair and laid on the ground, like just in like a snow angel position. And it just felt like all the stress was gone. So I wake up at 3, 4 in the morning for this flight. And I did this at like 9 at night. I submitted at 9 at night, woke up at 3 or 4. And, you always get on your phone in the morning when you wake up. And that was one thing. I get on there, and the first thing it says is, it said, waiting for review, in review, and then rejected, see notes or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, how did that happen that fast? And it was the simplest thing. And all it was is really for Apple, and this may be going to too much depth, but you have to, when you have an app, you have to ask for permissions. So you have to do that appropriately, and you have to describe exactly what you're doing. And when I was asking for, okay, let me see your camera roll. For anybody who's using the app, that's to add, a profile picture to your profile, or to add a picture to your post. Apple doesn't know that. So they make you explain it, and that's something I didn't do. So I had to wait till after the trip to fix it. It killed me the entire time. I'm hiking around in 110-degree heat and just, still mad and still thinking about it 24/7. I still had a good time, but you guys know how it is. It's an obsession.
Yeah.
And finally I fixed it, did everything I needed to do, and then submitted it. And then I think that one took about 12 hours, maybe half a day before I got rejected. And that hurt a little bit, because that was a matter of me having a social app. And that was one thing that I was going to add later. I was trying to hit my deadline. I didn't have anything to like block other users with, which I should have read a little more. That's something that Apple requires for all social apps to have. And they need a way to actually filter out, bad content if someone's on there, posting spam stuff or anything, or nudity. I needed ways to filter that out. So it was a lot of precautionary stuff that they were throwing at me. And looking at it from the developer's perspective, I'm like, this is going to take another month. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was the worst feeling. I'll tell you right now, I lost it a little bit. I was in a bad spot, because my eyes literally worked for a year and a half. And I'm like, this is something I don't even know if I can do 100%. And it was a really, really bad feeling. And, eventually I fixed it. I added a blocking feature. I added a reporting feature. I integrated Google Safe Search into the app. So there was a cloud function that runs every single time someone posts something, post an app or post a photo, it will scan it for bad content, spam, all this different stuff. And it's just something Google had out there, and it made it, pretty easy. Got it done sooner than later. And I remember I was actually at this desk about to go to work, and I had resubmitted it that morning, wrote an explanation of how everything worked. And it was within 3 hours or something like that, they approved it. And I remember I about dropped on the ground. It was an insane thing. I know you guys had a similar experience with just that relief, man. It's something else. But
that's why I really wanted to bring that up, because that feeling of, you think you're done. And I really think, especially in entrepreneurship and with a startup business of any type, and especially in software, you always have the feeling of, okay, that's done. And then you get hit with the feeling of, okay, now it's broke again. Now let's add this because it just broke when we updated this,
Yep.
So there's entrepreneurship is full. It's basically a crazy roller coaster, right? Of insane turns, twists, ups and downs. And I like what you said, and I wanted to bring it up, kind of like that obsession. That's I think what helped a lot of people like us and a lot of entrepreneurs continue through that. It's basically like a stovetop with those what do you call it? Not gas stovetop, right? That you can turn the burners on and off, but there's always that one on, with entrepreneurs in your brain. Like, you can shut everything else out in life, but that's just one thing, that all the new ideas, all of the everything that you can do with your company, you know, client relationships, how can we build this, it never stops.
No.
Which it's obviously there's positives and negatives in that, but I think a major positive is the continued, you know, thought that will just kill you until you do it and until you finish it and then get to that next step, the motivation part. So
Yeah, there were a lot of points I wanted to quit. Like I can think of 5 off the top of my head, just dealing with individual problems, like with the coding and even other stuff, like more on the business side, like when I was going to get a trademark, and I have a trademark pending right now for Flipsity. And that was talking to an attorney, and, you know, everything went great, but before Flipsity was Flipsity, it was a lot of different other names. And that's because she kept telling me, you know, this is going to get declined by the USPTO and things like that. And I just saw the money just slowly racking up of, you know, money I was putting towards actually getting a trademark. And I'm like, man, I would not be spending this money on a trademark if I didn't have something to trademark. If I didn't have a business, if I just would have never started, life would be so much easier. But it's not the case. It's a matter of getting up those hills and those curves and those bends, just like you said. And, you know, there were so many moments I wanted to quit, and you literally just got to put your head down. And I like the analogy you used earlier, the metaphor of, you know, tearing your way through the brush, and you go the way nobody else went. And, you know, that's something that, you know, I don't want anybody to be afraid of, is like just putting your head down. Like, you will feel alone at some points. And even if you do have a lot of people, you're going to feel alone at some points, because no one really understands the vision other than you, other than the entrepreneur who has the idea. You know, no one's going to get it but you. You can have all the support in the world, but you're the one that's got to make that happen. And you guys sure know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you guys had each other, but I mean, it feels lonely, even with just 2 people, two founders. Like, still feels lonely, I bet.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and I could only imagine with one. And go ahead, Rob. I think you had something.
Yeah, I was going to bring up what you were talking about with the vision. I mean, that's the biggest thing in entrepreneurship. Any idea starts with a vision. Like with Jeff Bezos in his garage selling books, like he always, I mean, I don't know if it was at the beginning, but he somewhere in there had to develop a vision of having this huge company around the world where you can order anything online. And a lot of people probably thought he was crazy. Same thing with Elon Musk going to space, everything like that. That actually brought up a quote I actually saw yesterday. I sent Austin. The quote is, "Don't be afraid when people can't see your vision. Be afraid when you no longer can see it." So essentially, there's going to be people out there. There's going to be people out there who think you're crazy. There's going to be people out there who think your vision isn't attainable, who think it's been done before, everything like that. But as long as you see your vision, which obviously you have that vision, me and Austin have a vision for Gas Money. Any successful entrepreneur who has a vision and sticks to that vision will always find a way to succeed. So it's really about your mindset, always looking at everything in a positive light, always trying to learn from your failures. Another good quote: "No mistakes in life, only lessons." Anytime you have a setback in business, you got to learn from it instead of letting it go down. And that was like huge with the App Store process. Every time there was something that came up, at least now, the next time you decide to update your app, you'll know what to look for. And there's always a learning opportunity. So I think that's a huge aspect of entrepreneurship. And I wouldn't have had that mindset if it wasn't for Gas Money and what we did, even with the manual process. I think the experiences you get from something like this are so valuable for life, for communication skills, for leadership. That I really think a lot more people who have ideas should try and pursue them like we did, just because it's so valuable and enriching.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
And these guys ain't gonna say it themselves, like, but I remember back in high school, because what did we decide last time? I was a senior when you guys were sophomore. Is that correct? Or
I think
juniors?
you're a senior, I was a junior, and then I was a sophomore. So.
Yeah. So I was the big bad senior, you know how everyone in high school thinks. And I was looking up to these guys because I'd see them with their Gas Money shirts and like everything. And, you know, I was always hearing about what they were doing. And I absolutely loved it, because that's, you know, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And here these guys are, they were younger than me, doing like exactly what I said I was going to do, with the entrepreneurial spirit and the motivated business mindset. And like, you guys had that like long before I think any, like, you guys were ahead of the curve. I'll just say it. Like, I remember working at Menards, and I told you guys about this last time, but I worked at Menards for a while, and I feel like it was like right before winter hit, and you guys came in and bought like 3 shovels, some salt, all this stuff, and I knew exactly what you guys were for, and or what you were there for. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, I'm here working, 8-10 hours a day, and these guys are doing their own thing and like making their own choices. And like, that is what I want for everybody. Like, no matter like what age you're at. Like, I was dumb. I thought, in high school, even a little bit into college, I'm like, when I grow up, I'm gonna do this. Like, do it whenever. Like, these guys, like, I was watching them from the very beginning, for obviously from a distance. I always loved you guys, but we didn't never hung out, never talked. And I was always like, from a distance, I was like, these guys, like, I'm like, they've got it. Like, I knew from a long time ago, I'm like, these guys have got it.
It's funny.
And
It's so funny to look back with you saying that, because no, I mean, and this is like, you looking up to us. And then what's crazy is in still that high school mindset that we all had, we all go through that. What do I wear to school? Is this going to look good? Karen basically a little too much.
Too much.
And no, I mean, walking through the halls, and I know, you're friends with Jackson.
Oh yeah.
One of our good friends too. And so we kind of grew up, hanging out more with him and things like that. But he also had, his older friends that we would kind of refer to. And because everybody was at least a year older than us that was, in your grade. And no, it was weird, just like to even talk to you or like your group. We would get nervous, or I would especially get nervous in, like, I mean, obviously Jackson, because I had just already talked to him so much, but like, no, like the other guys, I don't know if high school, my mindset was just so different than it is now, because, and that's I think another thing that a lot of these, whoever's listening right now, you need to learn that I don't care what age you are, don't think anyone is judging you for who you are. Like, don't be somebody that you're not, to then basically dictate the next few years of your life that you're going to dedicate something that you don't want to do or don't want to be. And then after that, finally find out that everybody else had their own stuff to deal with too. So they never really cared about your life, so that's when it comes down to, is like, you need to really strive for what you believe in. And like, I want to bring it back up, like, there's no age on success. You can't put an age on that. You can't put an age on entrepreneurship, or on, I really think on anything in life. You can really do anything that you want to do nowadays because of technology and all of the things that we have at our fingertips. And I mean, you're a prime example of that. And we were kind of in the same knowledge point, where the knowledge gap of, between, we want to build an app, but we have no idea how. And then this is how it's going to be. So we had to get through that. And the way you filled that gap is you taught yourself. The way we filled it, we were fortunate to be able to find a company that, gave us the right amount for the budget that we had. So, we both figured it out, which is amazing, but that just shows, a couple of kids that are still in college, the college age people were able to do something like this, and then continue and try to inspire and motivate people to do that even at a younger age. And I think going back, kind of the mission of Gas Money, that's really what we are trying to advocate for, is like, you can, do whatever, like that whole spiel that I just had, you can really do whatever at any age. And we're just trying to help accelerate that process with our company and our mission. So, and I think too, with your company, it's just great that you're giving another, option to people our age. And it's a new, cool thing that everybody loves. So that's a lot of power that you can use to do a whole lot of good things with. So I'm really happy with what you're doing, man.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you guys. Like even from way back in high school, like you were changing people's lives. Like whether like, you know, you want to admit that you were seriously changing people's lives because you were giving people a place like where they could work and be around their friends and work on their own time. And like, it was crazy. Like it was like revolution. It sounds silly to say, but you guys were like doing something like crazy. Like I wish I'd have gotten involved in it. And, you know, I obviously we're working together a little bit now, but it was like so cool to see you guys like actually like making a difference in people's lives. Like, because again, I was working at golf courses, at retail stores. Like, I was not having a good time. Like, I was struggling, and you know, you guys were the guys in the room that you guys had it before any of us else had it, and you know, I'll always remember that. I absolutely love that we happen to release our apps at the same time. Like, it's so weird, and like went down two totally different avenues. And I can tell you right now, like if you can pay for it, pay for someone else to do your own like 100%, like because it is going to be stressful. It's going to take way longer. It's a lot of different factors. Because I think I did start way before you guys coding even. So I think so.
What was kind of go on the so explain your timeline and then we'll kind of go like and see if those collided at all.
I gotta think back. I don't. It was 2020 definitely. I think that's when I like that was after I had the idea. It was definitely before everything got shut down. So probably late 2019 is when I actually was like coming up with the idea and getting a little more serious with it. And then I'd say early 2020, obviously everything like shut down. And that's when, you know, our friend Scott kind of was pushing me like, hey, get this done. And that's when I started learning, started watching all the YouTube videos. And from there, what was that? Like, yeah, it was almost 2 years. So about a year and a half. So early 2020 is when I started. And I mean, that doesn't seem like a long time looking back, but like what people don't realize, like every single day I was coding. Like if not for the shutdowns, I don't know if I could do that, but it's a rare situation. But every single day I was coding. Like if I had 30 minutes before I, you know, had to go to bed or do whatever, like I was doing something with the app, whether it was business related or, you know, mainly coding it. So I'd say probably since March, I think 2020, maybe.
Yeah. To give a little before I think did you probably know the dates more specifically, but to give a little back end on you know the timeline when so you kind of had that idea and then you started to learn, you know, basically right when everything started to shut down. So we were then that was when we were starting the LLC. And then that time that we used, so you use that to kind of, you know, really start and dive into coding and learning. We were learning basically how to run the company and build our paper process that Rob was talking about. So it's kind of funny how, you know, we were both learning at the same time, but you had to learn a little bit faster than us with the app development because, or a little bit longer it took because you actually did it all on your own. So we were able to learn that and then put all of that back into the company and we were running it at the same time. And, you know, with the shutdown though, we weren't able to start actual services until, was that April, Rob? Or
Yeah, it was late April. We couldn't even actually offer a service until then just because of COVID and how everything was shut down. So we really used that time for a lot of research. I remember just kind of getting the company set up. And like you were kind of saying earlier, Carter, like it was almost, obviously COVID was horrible, but for our timelines and everything, the time that we got to work on ourselves, research everything, really actually worked out good. And I mean, you've already said it about your company, but I don't know if Gas Money would be where it is today if we didn't have that extra time to really research and put the time into making our company and planning out that vision and everything. So it's pretty crazy how everything works.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to mention real quick too. Okay, actually, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna jump in there. I'm gonna say, like, obviously it was like a tragedy. Like it was like something awful, but like there were also a lot of people that were sitting around playing video games, and nothing wrong with that. That's what you like to do. That's what you like to do. But I mean, you got to seize the opportunity when it comes. Like if you got the time, make it happen. And you guys did that too.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not
Because
being able to compete.
yeah, because
Go
the
ahead.
biggest thing was everybody wanted you to stay home. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I know personally, like I was like, oh shoot, like right at the beginning, hey, I can play video games. I don't have to do homework anymore, you know.
Yep.
And once me and Austin really started thinking about the idea, we were like, hey man, let's capitalize on this right now and really focus on research, everything like that. And a point I wanted to bring up, which is really a good inspiration to all the viewers out there. Um, all three of us, none of us really had a good background with coding or app development, as you guys know from the podcast so far. And that's the crazy thing about entrepreneurship is there's not one set path you have to take. There's no textbook or answer sheet for entrepreneurship. You can do whatever you need to get to where you want to be. And that's why it's so important to have your vision and keep on finding ways to accomplish it. Because if you think, like if me and Austin went in with the mindset, the only way we can make this app is if we learn how to code, we would have never got the app done because me and him didn't have that drive like you did to learn to code. The way that we went about it still worked out good, still worked out in our favor. And both of us have apps on the App Store right now, but we took two completely different ways. So I just wanted to highlight there's no certain way you have to go in entrepreneurship.
No, everyone's different. And again, if I had the money, I 100%, like it was scary. Like it was like a beast. And I'm glad you guys did that, because it's either way you do it is crazy, but it's different whichever route you take. And there's also like a third one in there that I always bring up, because word's gotten out around like the workplace of me like having an app, so clients ask me about it. And it's the relationship I was talking about earlier with Scott and my boss saying you need a Scott. So a lot of people, like for me, I coded it myself. Gas Money, you guys got it done with the help of a company. Totally great. Both of those are great, but the best middle ground ever, if you can find some kind of, like, if you have no coding experience, find somebody with one. Like that was one thing I absolutely could not find. And that is something I totally wish I would like. I remember when Jackson was telling me about your guys' idea for the first time, first thing I asked him was how far along are they? I can help them, because people are going to come, like, if you have an idea, there are people out there that can get it done. You may not have the resources right now, but once again, it's about the networking and actually meeting those people. But there is a rare middle ground that you see where you can be a founder, you can be the person that creates the company, has the idea, and you can find someone that you'll then either share equity with or pay them or something. But if you can find a business partner, that it would be like the greatest thing. It's going to be so much cheaper and you're not going to have the stress. Like with me, it was like all on me. For you guys, it was like the cost. Like I didn't spend any money on coding, but the time, stress, and the years off my life. Like that's what I always joke about. But I mean, if I could have found a partner to go in on it with me, that someone that could code, obviously there could be issues with, creative control and whatnot. But I mean, just like with everything we've been saying, like get it done. Like you got to get it done. And that for anyone out there that knows a friend that can code, or Kettering University, I brought them up. That's where my friend Scott came from. There's a ton of people like him there. They're very passionate about coding, and they want a project to work on in most cases. Like they, two different types of people, business people and more like on the technical side. Classic Steve Jobs and what was his name?
Mark Zuckerberg.
No, Steve Jobs' partner. Drawing a blank.
Steve Wozniak. Yeah.
Yes. Steve Jobs, he was always the business guy. Wozniak was always the coding guy. That if you could follow that blueprint, like obviously it worked out. But obviously there were some hiccups if anyone knows about them a little bit. But there is a middle ground for people out there who, either like can't get the funds together to like actually pay for something, and for the people that don't have the time or anything like that to code. So there is a third option that I don't even think I've discussed with you guys, but I see it a lot. And that's actually something I wanted to get into a little bit. And that is obviously with finding someone to help. That's something I want to do for others in the future. Like I mentioned earlier, like if you guys have another app that you want to create, like, I know you guys have a great resource. Everything's worked out great so far, but I would love to help people who are in my shoes and your guys' shoes and everything. And like, even if it's just like a resource, or if the idea is right and I'm full on developing it for somebody, like I want to help people who are in our shoes. And that's another thing with like just being an entrepreneur and hacking your way through the hedges and making your own path. Like you then open up a pathway for other people. And like, I don't want to keep anything a secret. I want to let everybody know. And that I feel like that's great, because that's exactly what this podcast is about, is telling everybody, our experiences. And I almost want to go like a step further and like help people, and kind of like what you guys are doing. You guys are helping change lives, give people work. And like I want to help people actually like bring their app ideas to life. And that's something I want Flipsity to be eventually, once we get our feet underneath us a little bit more. But I don't want people to be scared to code or go after their coding ideas like at all. Like you guys are very unique, and I know our situation is unique. Yes, we happen to come from the same community in high school and everything, but it really is unique. But it's because so many people are afraid of that, like with the wrong mindset, you're going to sit on that idea for years and years and years. And I know you guys felt that at some points of like, it's scary. It can be scary to make that jump.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, to bounce off of that, that's also, first of all, that's great advice. It's really funny that you went into that with kind of the more that you want to take with Flipsity, and then like your knowledge that you've gained. That was one of my questions I wrote down, is because I didn't know, once you learn that, like you said, it's an addiction.
Yeah.
There's got to be more that, you've gotten this project on its feet and it's on the store, and now you can kind of code from here with updates and everything. But then there's got to be that feeling. Actually, Gary V is a big guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, on the feeling of starting from the bottom and building from there. That's got to be kind of something that's in your head and in coders' head. When they get that, basically the entrepreneur that has the idea and that kind of resonates with you. And I would get excited if I knew how to then bring that to life. That probably is super exciting, to have that knowledge. But yeah, that's really cool that you want to kind of take it a step further, and not just let that time and that knowledge and that education and kind of go to waste on just small updates here and there, or even big updates on your own thing. And but since you've seen what you had to go through, kind of learning and doing all of it yourself, then it's be that much greater of a feeling to then help people get to their point that you're at, a little bit easier. Right. And to wrap that kind of back around, it's pretty similar with Gas Money. We went through that process, in the end of 2019. We went out and we were just a couple kids with lawnmowers, and we were like, we didn't really think anything of it, other than that we didn't want to work, for a company, and our schedules were too busy to have a set schedule that we had to, go with, or we would get fired essentially. So we went out and we kind of did our own thing. And then, the vision just keeps building and building and building. And that's probably what's happening with you is, the vision just continues to mold and shape through that roller coaster, like we talked about earlier, into, the big picture is what Rob and I have been calling it. We're striving towards the vision, but we're not to the big picture yet, which is, it's a super cool thing to think about. Obviously there's the unknown, but that's what the entrepreneur is motivated by. But anyway, we went through that process of building an opportunity for ourselves, and then it got to, let's build this opportunity for some other people that we know that are our age. And now it's gotten to a point where let's build this for people that our age across the country, potentially across the world one day. So that's it's super cool how that kind of resonates, and it's similarities with where you're trying to go too.
Yeah, and that's another thing I admire you guys, like, again, from the very beginning. Like, you guys were doing that in high school, and now you've taken it to like such a new level that even I didn't think of when I first heard about your guys' app. I had no idea what it could have been because like and we talked about this in our last conversation, like I didn't know it was going past mowing lawns and, taking care of people's driveways and things like that. Like I had no idea, but again, like you don't, like nobody else has that vision. So you guys had it all along. I had no idea. And it's kind of crazy to think like how far you guys have come and like just how far I've come in like a short amount of time. And but you still feel like there's so much more to go. Like there's so much here after this. And like you guys have probably heard it a million times, but you get those people, the doubters and everyone, and it gets to a point where it just kind of it doesn't really matter anymore. And like, yeah, they're gonna be right sometimes, but other people, they will stop and they will give up. And it takes someone else, a different side of you to actually like push through that. And then you get to see the bigger picture because you start like slowly taking those baby steps and it turns into, running and jumping and flying. And like next thing you know, you guys are, you went from a landscaping company, or from what I saw as a landscaping. I know you guys always had a bigger vision than that, but like you guys went from mowing lawns to having an app on the App Store that's helping so many people. Like I don't think you guys realize like how many people this can help, and it's unbelievable to me. And like still people, and we all know like there's always going to be people who are doubting you and like who are still, not believing in you or whatever it is. Like, but I like the term the bigger picture because there always is one, and like you accomplish those little goals that people say you couldn't. Yeah. And then you just keep on going, and like they'll never think big enough to even put any doubt into those because they still don't believe you made it as far as you did.
So, yeah, exactly. I wanted to bring up another quote. I know it's kind of funny. These quotes are kind of colliding with our conversation. I think Rob sent me this like 3 days ago or something. And it kind of goes along with, the people that either don't understand, are too stubborn to understand, or just think that, essentially a hater is somebody who looks at themselves and they see what you've done and they don't see that in themselves. So then they hate you for doing that. Right. So with that being said, those, all of those different types of people basically are, an obstacle in your head until, and what this quote word for word is, once you have decided to go for your dreams, obstacles are non-issue. And essentially the obstacles are those people, are those, things that are out there that make you want to stop or make you think that your dream or your goal or your bigger picture is not, achievable. But like I said, once you make that jump, none of those will ever stop anybody that really has that goal. And I'm glad that you kind of brought that up, and it collides exactly with that. So, and that's to all the listeners, I really think that truly resonates almost every single day. Now that I've seen that, it's like we've made that jump. Carter, you've made that jump, to spend 2 years of your life. And, it's just adding on more and more you code, and the more that you do for your company. And you went for it. You went for the dream that, Scott told you to really go for. And I bet that's really paying off now. But same with, Rob and I with gas money. It's like we really went for it. And it comes down to, like you said, all that you thought at the beginning it was a landscape, lawn care type company. And I don't blame you for thinking that, because that's kind of where it all started. And what we've had to overcome a lot of, are the people when we try to explain it. And as soon as you say that word, then they're like, oh, gotcha. And then they just close off because they're like, oh, it's a common lawn care business. And so we've had to try to figure out different ways to explain it, and just now it's almost like you have to start out by saying, oh, we own a tech company, that we have an app called Gas Money. And then you go from there. Because then that kind of broadens people's minds on what you say. And it all comes down to that psychology. But there are still those people that they just won't understand or don't want to understand, but you just have to really get past that. And I think once you go for it, for the listeners, you just got to go for it. And that nothing will stop you. Nothing that somebody is saying will stop you from really going for what you truly believe. So just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, 100%. To all those people out there that we could call haters or whatever, like come and talk to us. Like seriously, like I'm so down. Like, and that Austin brought up the point of like most people who dislike someone for something like a business idea, and it goes back to that thing we mentioned at the very beginning. Like, don't ever stop for anybody else. Don't stop for someone else's opinion, because they don't know what you're going through. They don't know the goal, the bigger picture, all that. But come and talk to me. Like if you have like an app idea and like you're kind of like laughing at the concept of like coming, with an idea and like taking it here and making it to the app store, like come and talk to us. Like I'm throwing that out there because I can make it happen. Like I can either like walk you through it. I can teach you the code. I can even do it for you if the idea is right, or if it matches up with what I'm going for. Like there's so many options out there, but don't laugh it off and and dismiss the idea. Like actually go for it. Like, and if like I was always like super admirable of these guys, but you can do it. Like if you want to actually like do it, there's nothing stopping you from doing it but yourself. Like don't get mad at other people for going after their ideas. Like someone's going after their goal, like that's something you could do too. So I mean, seriously, like come and talk to me, come and talk to these guys. Like anyone out there, like if you need help, like that's exactly what I want to do. You have an app idea, like talk to me. I'll at least give you some advice. Like I'm not going to turn anybody away. Like I'll offer that to anybody and everybody, because you all can do it. If I can do it, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. If I can do it, anybody could do it.
Yeah, we say the same thing. We're not, super geniuses at all. And there's a ton of, I bet a ton of entrepreneurs that have, or just people in general that have had wild success just from going for something that they truly believed in. And they would say the same thing. They're not, Albert Einstein or anything like that. It's just a person that felt like they needed to go for something. They went for it and they were consistent with it. And it became what they wanted it to become. So exactly like what you said, all those people that are afraid, or, you don't think that you can do what other people have done. It's never too late. I mean, look at Colonel Sanders, KFC. I think he started KFC. He was definitely 60 plus when he started. And I think he died at 80 something, and he was a multimillionaire. And now look at KFC. Yeah. It's essentially like there's statues I've heard over in China of Colonel Sanders. Like there's one on every corner in the United States. So that just shows, go for what you believe in. And never hate somebody for going for what they believe in, because even if it's people in high school, if you're listening, like, or college, there's that nerdy kid, that concept, that nerdy kid in class, or just that kid that always talks about what they want to go for someday. Don't look down at them, because those people are probably actually going to go for it and make something of themselves and change a lot of people's lives. So you got to learn from it and not, just kind of look at your ego in the face and just say, congratulations. And I'm motivated and I'm going to go for what I truly believe in. So I hope that this conversation really, really helps people on that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and to kind of go off that too, to go back to what Carter was saying, just never be afraid to reach out to somebody that you might not know or you think is better than you or anything like that. Because I mean, the whole reason we're talking with Carter right now on our podcast is because we ended up reaching out to each other. I think I messaged you on LinkedIn, and I was just like, holy crap, you have an app out. We do too. Like, I don't know how we didn't know about this. And then, I mean, any relationship, especially in business, you can find tons of value from. And I'm sure we're only going to keep building up from here. Together. And that kind of brought me into another thing I kind of wanted to do for future when we look back on this podcast. So I know you launched your app, it was late August 2021, correct, Carter? And then we just launched ours early September 2021. Right now, it's September 20th, 2021. I think we're about 90 to 95 users on our app. We're almost at the 100 mark, a super big goal of ours already. I think you actually hit the 100 mark a couple days ago. I think I saw on your Instagram. So these might seem like tiny milestones in the big scheme of things, but for the future, I know Austin and I's vision is to one day be across the United States. Where do you see Flipsity? Like, what's your overall huge goal? I know you mentioned you wanted to use it to help other people, kind of get a little more entrepreneurship on there, but overall, where do you see Flipsity maybe 3 to 5 years from now, in the future?
Overall, like the app itself, obviously, like it has potentials to be in any big city around the world. I think anywhere that has like a lot of, nightlife or just people posting on social media, like any high concentrated areas, a location-based app is going to thrive. So there's that. But Flipsity LLC as a company, like I want to do some big things in Flint and around Michigan. And I mean, like I want to transform the landscape in a way of like I want to change the way people think about developing apps. Because right now, like again at the job, it kind of got me into this. It's a scary subject, and I want to change that. So that's one big goal of mine. Is as easy it is to make a website nowadays for people, how it's still a little scary, but it's not really like something someone can't do, I guess. Like you can make a website pretty easily now. I want that same attitude to be towards app development. I want everybody to feel comfortable with making apps. And I don't care if that takes 5 years, 50, or until I die, or if it happens long after I'm dead. Like that's something I want to try to like inspire in people. And, I mean, we are examples right now, but not so much just like in the sales aspect. I really want to be like someone who, pioneers this and makes it a reality for everybody. Because I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't at one point in their life said, "Oh, I have an app idea for this," and this slowly just forget it because it's such a dream. It's such, seems so unattainable right now. And that's something like all around the world, I want to make people feel more comfortable with actually going after that and making app ideas. And for future me, I was saying like, you're not doing this right now, man. Get back on it, because that's the future. Like this is the mark I'm going to leave on the world.
For real. And that's super inspirational because I mean, at a first glance, like anybody who like is making an app or like a business idea, usually the first thing people think is, oh, they just want to do this for profit. They just want to do this to get rich, to get famous, stuff like that. But like what you were saying about your goals with Flipsity, it's always deeper than that. And that kind of reflects back to our goals with Gas Money, because when we did the work in high school, mowing lawns, talking to clients, everything like that, that can actually be done on the app now. We learned so much about just growing ourselves, developing as leaders, learning about entrepreneurship. And those experiences, in many senses, have been way more valuable than the classes I've taken in school and what I've went through, taking those courses and everything. So that kind of reflects on our vision of Gas Money, which is really similar to yours with helping people. It's more than just a company, and that's the huge thing that a lot of people don't realize nowadays. Especially with startups, it's easy to get too focused on what you want the app, how do you want the app to function, how you want everything to be. But a lot of people fail to see that it's more than just the app. And that's one thing I wanted to comment on, because it's super inspirational, how you want to help other people, and kind of aligns right with us. It's crazy how we're so similar, and this whole time we like never really linked up. Just shows how entrepreneurship is really similar, develops that positive mindset in life.
Yeah, and trust people to talk to them, like, because I didn't talk to half of my friends about my app idea or any of my goals. And if I had talked to, and Jackson, we've been talking about this whole time. Like if I hadn't went out to breakfast with Jackson the one day and met up with him for the first time in I think 6 months or a year or something like that, and he brought you guys up, and I said, no way, I wasn't even going to bring it up or talk about it. I'm like, I am doing the exact same thing right now, building something from scratch, like starting from the ground up, like just like you guys did. And like, don't be afraid to like reach out to people, and like, you never know. I had no idea what you guys were doing, anything like you were doing. So that's another thing. And just like again, going back to that, don't be afraid to talk to people, network, get people that have similar mindsets as you, because there's not a lot of people out there that's gonna, like, this is just such a weird coincidence still, but find people that get it. That's the key. Like, no matter what you do, just find people that get what you're doing.
Yeah. That's what's going to push you to go and to get to that bigger picture. Basically having people that understand you and understand your goals. Obviously, they're never going to understand everything in your entire vision. You're only going to understand that in yourself. And Rob and I were lucky to find each other that, a business duo that can understand it at the same level, to such a down to detail point. And it's difficult to find that. And I think we've talked about this in one of our past podcasts. Don't be afraid to go into business with your friends. I seriously, this is something that's pretty looked down upon in the business world, I feel like today, because yes, there are some negatives, with your friends. There's a time for play, and there's a time for getting things done. And a lot of people don't really, they can't put that filter on it with your friends, which is completely fine. That's not the right person then. But you have to be able to find the person that you can put a filter on that. And some people are in business relationships basically, and it's just all strictly business. And those people really tend to get a lot done, but then that can almost, crash and burn too, when you kind of get burnt out a little bit. So it's always good to have a relationship of some type of friend relationship on the outside too, so you can also have those good times and take a step back and do all of those things. And that's just something I wanted to bring up. Don't be afraid. I know you talked about it a little bit with finding a business partner, because that's very I think just advice from me, and I think Rob would say the same thing. And same, Carter, I know you're kind of on your own right now, but it's always nice to have somebody to kind of resonate with and build off of, keep your motivation at the same point, and just somebody to kind of lift you up if you're down, and lift that person up and continue to keep going. So it's not easy to find the right person, but we were just talking about, if you continue to network and talk to people and figure out who understands what, and I really think then keeping consistent with that, it could be the third person you talk to, could be the first person, could be the hundredth person. And but you just got to keep consistent with it, and you're going to find the right person or the right group of people that you resonate with. And I think that honestly wraps back to a lot of this conversation. Kind of the theme of it is really, the only way that you're going to get to where you want to be is surrounding yourselves with the right people that will then motivate you to get there. And also, while you're doing your thing, they're going to be motivated and inspired to keep going for their thing. So I think it actually, that brings up another quote. If you're hanging out with three people that work basically three people that work a 9 to 5 and they make 50,000 a year, you're going to be the fourth. If you hang out with 3 millionaires, you're going to be the fourth. Or if you hang out with people that you want and what you want out of life, then you're going to be the fourth. So it's what it comes down to. You're going to be and turn into and mold into your atmosphere and what you're around. So make the best out of that. Definitely surround yourself with the right people. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's 100%. That is 100%. But that was me. And again, I wish I'd have found you guys a lot sooner, because if I had just talked to you guys, been around the right people, I would have been on the exact same pathway as you guys. Although I feel happy I went down, I feel blessed I went down the path I did, but it can change your whole life being around the right people. And if I had been around these guys sooner, and they had that contact and had that company and had, a plan and had a blueprint, it would have been a lot easier. And again, you clear a path for somebody, you can basically change someone's life with that. But if you go into something together, more people in similar mindsets, it makes it all that easier on you, starting out. So I wish I'd have found you guys a lot sooner, found out exactly what you guys are doing. But, overall, I feel blessed, that all of us went on our own individual paths and did what, what we were supposed to do, I believe. And again, here we are, Rob looking in at our future selves right now, like our future selves looking back, like I wouldn't change a thing right now. Like I think it happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen. And here we are now. And I mean, I just feel blessed to even be on here to be able to talk about it and to be in a position that people in the future, like it's all a blessing, but it starts with a lot of hard work. So, yeah.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I will go from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
like
Rob.
you were saying, I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. And I mean, just like you were saying, if anything gets in your way, any obstacles come up in life, just know like you're gonna get past it. And I think that's a good kind of final word to put in. I know we are kind of nearing the end of the time. This has been a huge, amazing conversation. Definitely super enriching. I'm sure anybody that's listening right now got at least some value out of that conversation. But to just kind of sum it up, I think it really just comes down to connections and not being afraid to reach out to people and really put your mind towards your big vision. Just know that you can do it. There's been tons of people out there who've tried and failed, but the people that have never lost that vision are the ones that succeed. So I think that's been a huge thing with this conversation. Definitely going to put Carter's plugs down in the description under this podcast, and we're going to post on YouTube. Carter, you can go ahead and post on your sites too if you want. Just kind of get exposure for all of us, and definitely we'll put the plugs in there. Like Carter was saying. Yeah. And like Carter was saying, if you need help with anything, feel free to reach out to him. Feel free to reach out to us. We're super happy to help anybody. So don't be afraid to reach out. And thank you for coming on. It was truly an amazing conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Like this is awesome just to, again, be around people with the same mindset and also get to help other people. I hope this helped a lot of other people. And if you have an idea, just go for it. Again, reach out, do whatever you got to do, just make it happen.
For sure. So, all right.
Thanks, Carter. That was good.
Yeah. Thanks, Carter. So, thanks again for listening, everybody. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe below. And as we always say at the end of the podcast, go get that gas money.